The magnificent. The magnificent.
MagMongoSlade.
The magnificent.
The magnificent.
The magnificent.
MagMongoSlade.
Welcome everyone. 3 Count Commentaries. I am MagMongoSlade. We're going to try to push through this Monday Night Raw thing. Oh my Lord have mercy. All right, today is September the 8th. Well, this Monday Night Raw is from September the 8th, 2025. Today is my mother's 66th birthday. So happy birthday to Mama Slade. Big round of applause. She's still around, still alive and kicking, still healthy. I like it. Took a little bit of time to talk to her and my dad. And my dad felt the need to tell me that they've been together for 48 years and they met when she was 18 years old. He was 20. He was about to go into the military and all this sort of stuff. He gave me that whole, well, not the whole life story, about the life story up till around the time that I came and ruined their party. They was getting along just fine until my ass showed up. Oh boy. Anyway, that was great. Raw, of course, is mixed bag. Very mixed bag. We're going to get through this thing. We're going to try. All right, so the Usos come out to do their battle rap promo, which I always enjoyed. They were interrupted by the Bronze. Braun Breaker got himself all worked up thinking about what happened to Paul. The Usos called Paul the Orca because he's shaped like one. A tag team match was set for WrestlePalooza. LA Knight then attacked the Bronze. This leads to some miscommunication between LA Knight and Jey Uso, where LA Knight almost crushed Jey Uso in the corner. Jey Uso gets paranoid, says that LA Knight is out to get him. LA Knight is mad. He just wants to fight one of the Bronze. He doesn't care if it's LeBron James, Bronson Reed, Charles Bronson. If your name is Bron, get your ass out here. Let's fight. So that's the main event. It's Bronson Reed versus LA Knight. And of course, LA Knight lost. He has got to be like one of the worst backstage politicians of all time. He's got to be one of the worst. The guy's too over to be losing to Bronson Reed. After the match, the Bronze beat up LA Knight because, of course, earlier in the night, Jey Uso was leaving the building when Jimmy stopped him and said, hey, you know, the Vision is our problem. We got to handle the Vision. And Jey didn't want to help LA Knight. Again, he's paranoid. He thinks that LA Knight is out to get him. Won't help him. And it says that it's gonna get in his way. Not gonna help him become the world champion again. Doesn't care about this. Jey says, well, you know, Jimmy says, well, you don't sound like yourself. You sound like Roman. And then Jey says, well, maybe sounding like myself ain't working. So they're queuing up something bad's about to happen here. So back to the LA Knight Bronson Reed beatdown. Jimmy comes out to help LA Knight because they're boys now. And when Jimmy starts getting beat up, Jey comes out there. And as they're fighting back, the Bronze somehow still get the upper hand. And then LA Knight shows up with a steel chair, chases the Bronze off. Jey and LA Knight they dap it up. They're in good terms. And then Jey, out of nowhere, spears LA Knight and just leaves them as a mess in the ring. So, technically a heel turn because he did get booed for this. But then people started to yeet right afterwards. So maybe he's at this bulletproof level. Now, the harder edge on Jey after his short conversation with Roman is pretty obvious, you know, that they're teasing that Jey is going to become more like Roman. He's starting to become a little bit more desperate, more frustrated. He was world champion. He lost the belt and hasn't been able to get back to that spot. Is dead set focused on that. But this is going to be, look, they need something to do for LA Knight, I guess. And maybe Jey Uso is as good a feud as any, but the idea that we're going to tease the Jey Uso heel turn, who is probably the more over of the two, especially in terms of selling merchandise and things of that sort, very interesting. But they are touching on the last known really good of Jey Uso, which is the Bloodline story, his back and forth with Jimmy. And that was the stuff that made people really like Jey Uso. So the going back to that was very useful. I don't like the idea of Bronson Reed beating LA Knight. Pretty sure we could have just gotten away with this being a double disqualification or something like that in the middle of the show, and moving on to something else for the main event spot. I don't think this was a main event match anyway. I know that there's people out there who think Bronson Reed is the main event guy or LA Knight the main event guy. But when there's nothing on the line, man, there's no reason to watch this. You know, it doesn't matter how much you like the other guys. You're waiting either on the run in or what other shenanigans they're going to have outside the ring. But I'm going to say this. I like the Usos being put back together. The tag team match is interesting for WrestlePalooza. I'm not thrilled about the Jey Uso heel turn. I think that, well, if you want to call it a heel turn, it might not technically be a heel turn yet, but it's pretty damn close to it. He attacked the babyface for almost literally no reason. And, you know, there needs to be recompense for that. Whatever. Moving on. AJ Styles defeated El Grande Americano. El Grande Americano got a new theme song. It's bad, but the guy under the gimmick is great. He's super over in Mexico, which matters. AJ Styles cut a promo during the commercial where he said this is the first time that he's been in WWE and nobody's had his back. You know, Gallows and Anderson are not there. Mia Yim's not there. And he thinks that somebody set him up and that somebody doesn't want him here. And it's seemingly like they're doing some kind of work shoot thing where AJ Styles is in the last couple of weeks of his contract as well. Maybe not weeks, maybe months of his current deal, and maybe leaning more towards leaving WWE, more towards retirement. So this was not replayed on WWE's main account for as far as I know, which is what, you know, got my attention. So something tells me that they're trying to do something new here. They're trying to tell a story. And it could be interesting, or it could just be that AJ Styles is not being made aware that they're not serious about him anymore, which is unfortunate because, you know, he gave some really good years to this company. And it would be unfortunate for them to not take him seriously near the end of his career. I would certainly hate to see him go to AEW and immediately tear his bicep or something like that, like they all do. But I did really enjoy the finish for the El Grande Americano AJ Styles match. I thought it was great. Dragon Lee came out there to help. Of course, there was a second El Grande Americano. I don't understand why there's so many of them. But Dragon Lee told AJ Styles he'll always have his back. And that was fun. That was nice. I'm wondering where this is going to lead to. Hopefully it leads to something good for Dragon Lee, because I don't see much headed for AJ Styles, you know. This doesn't seem like much of a storyline. He's already beaten this El Grande Americano, so now what? He put out on social media an hourglass with his logo in it, and it's draining down to the bottom. You know, I think that he said it before John Cena even said it, that he was going to retire on this last contract. So we are watching the last days of AJ Styles, and again, as usual, they have to know this, and instead of going out with a bang, he's wrestling El Grande Americano. So there's that. Because Stephanie Vaquer hasn't been on Raw, she hasn't made it to Raw. They canceled the contract signing between EO and Stephanie Vaquer. So EO's still going to get the match with Stephanie Vaquer, but there's not going to be a contract signing. So they're going to do the contracts via Zoom, I guess. They're going to do a DocuSign. Whatever, man. Why do some matches need contract signings and other ones don't? Anyway, Nikki Bella tries to speak to EO Sky, but Asuka appeared and said, I don't want you talking to her, then brushed off back Nikki Bella. Nikki Bella wants respect. Asuka challenged her to a match, then Asuka beat her in the match. Kind of embarrassed her, if we're being honest. Beat her with the Asuka lock, made her tap out. The match was not great. The crowd was mixed, oddly enough. You know, people was really into this. Nikki Bella seemingly had the hearts and minds of all the younger people and a lot of the women and the younger fans, while A lot of masculine voices chanting for Asuka. One of the cool spots in the match was Asuka using Kyrie as a shield. I thought that was pretty funny. But anyway, Asuka did her running butt smash and then put Nikki Bella in the Asuka lock and made her tap out. Afterwards, Asuka claims that what happened to Nikki Bella is going to happen to Stephanie Vaquera at WrestlePalooza. And Nikki Bella was ready for round 2. She had just tapped out like not even 20 minutes prior to this. And now all of a sudden she wants to fight again. And Asuka is like, ooh, doing, I don't know, whatever it is, Scooby-Doo stuff. And then Rhea Ripley showed up and got in Asuka's face. Asuka called herself the top girl around here. And Rhea says that Io is a top girl, and Asuka laughed at that because, yeah, it's a joke. Clearly, it's not serious. All right. Nikki Bella, boy. Child support. Alimony or whatever. Child support, yeah. Get it. The slow rolling of Rhea Ripley and Asuka is certainly something. I am enjoying the new Asuka push. I enjoy Asuka pushes. They're fun. Asuka's a great character. I thoroughly enjoy anything that she has to do. Penta wants to discuss things with Adam Pearce. He wants to know why he hasn't gotten a title shot yet. Then Rusev shows up. He wants a title shot too, called Penta a clown. Adam Pearce ended up making the match between the two of them. This was, I think of the 2 matches that I watched entirely, which would be Rusev and Penta and Nikki Bella and Asuka, because I like watching Asuka. This match was fun until the fucking run in. So Penta was working smaller. He was hitting Rusev with some chops, and Rusev was kind of no-selling them. He was registering them physically, but he wasn't like, wow, super selling them. Was working big, tossing Penta around, threw him into the announce desk and stuff. Pretty solid, very aggressive on Rusev's end. But then we got some New Day foolishness because they show up and they distract Penta, and Penta gets kicked in the face and pinned by Rusev. Look, I'm okay with Rusev beating Penta, even though I probably wouldn't have done it this way. But why is the New Day involved? I don't get it. Penta's not in a tag team. Who gives a fuck about this? The New Day has got to be the most stale, dead fucking act in all of WWE. Even up there with Natalya, New Day has got to be one of the stalest acts in the world. There's nothing that they could do that I would find interesting. Nothing that they could do that I would find interesting. After that heel turn flopped, there's nothing they can do that I would find interesting. I don't understand why they're in the milieu. Like, please get these people on. I don't care, man. And Penta has every right to be upset. This guy was red hot, and now he's just taking random pins on Raw. It's ridiculous. Clearly, they're building Rusev for something. Don't know what that is, but it's probably the Intercontinental Championship, which, okay. But that is currently occupied by another heel. So unless he's going to beat Dominic for it, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. Penta is going to make a special appearance at Worlds Collide. And I thought these two things were going to be connected, because I thought maybe Penta would show up at Worlds Collide and announce that he's going to get an Intercontinental Championship match or something like that coming up soon. But then they had Penta go ahead and lose to Rusev, which... Okay. I also saw on the dirt sheets that Rusev was going to be feuding with LA Knight. So how about that? The dirt sheets they're always right. Always right. Like, what more can you say, bud? Poor Penta. Next, AJ Lee came out and she ate up a whole lot of time to talk about nothing. I'm going to get through her promo, but I'm going to have an extensive amount of reaction to it. She says she is your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler, which is not true. She says she felt she accomplished everything she needed to in her career 10 years ago and she retired. So she went off to accomplish her other dreams, and she did that. She went on a mental health journey, got right, And she said she turned all this mental chaos into a superpower. She said she was doing good until she watched Monday Night Raw and said that she saw Becky Lynch assault her husband. Said that she wanted to like Becky at one point in time, thought they had a lot in common, and at one point in time they could have been friends. And then Becky defamed and assaulted her husband. Becky Lynch came out there with the Geordie from Star. She was wearing the big. She could have at least put on the big Mary J. Blige glasses, but they was more like the Geordie from Star Trek glasses. Says that this has nothing to do with her or her stank ass husband. Says that AJ. She's more upset about AJ having the Intercontinental Championship. She wants that belt back. AJ noted that Becky Lynch had a black eye and dared her to come in the ring and take the belt back. Seth Rollins showed up. He wants to take the belt back. AJ refused to give it to him, told him that they're going to make a deal. She'll give the belt back, but Becky Lynch has to come and get it, and she's going to definitely get another black eye to go with the one she's already got. Or they could agree to a tag team match at WrestlePalooza. Seth Rollins tries to be the man of this situation, says that he is the world champion and that he's calling the shot. So he gets in the ring and starts staring down AJ, and CM Punk just walks right up the ramp, no music, no nothing, gets in the ring and chases Seth Rollins off. As they're fleeing from this situation, Rollins agrees to the tag team match, and AJ throws the belt to Becky. So, and then he yells at them that they're done for. All right, so before I get to the angle, let's talk about AJ Lee's promo. For starters, I am a mental health advocate, and I realize that there was a very high-profile suicide, Daphne's, and she also suffered from bipolar disorder, which is the same thing AJ Lee has. And AJ Lee, in her past, has had suicide attempts. Using this as, hey, this is why I had to leave, because I was overwhelmed with injuries and trying to manage and tame this beast that I did not ask for. I support that part of the promo. I support being vulnerable and being honest with the fans about your struggles and everything that is going on, because this is the stuff that they care about. If they care about you, they care about this sort of stuff. Just like Roman talking about his leukemia, she wants to come out there and not name the disorder, but say, hey, I had some mental health problems. You can Google it and find out. I knew she had bipolar disorder just from looking at her, okay? So, I get that part. But there is a strange, very, very strange obsession with therapy that I'm getting from commercials and TV shows and white women on TikTok. And I'm like, are these people serious? Because mental health is a very serious thing, you know? I don't think people should be in the ring chanting for therapy. Look, do I think therapy is useful? Absolutely. But I don't. Pro wrestling doesn't need any more social workers. Like, we don't need social workers in this business. We need stars, right? Stars can have flaws. You could be a star that's deaf, like Miles Bourne, or blind, like Stan Hansen, or with bipolar disorder, like Daphne or AJ Lee. But these things are supposed to be incidental. They're parts of who you are. It shouldn't be all of who you are. And AJ Lee, for the past 10 years, has really leaned into the advocacy part of her mental health journey. And I don't want WWE turning into, because I'm seeing it online. I've been just awash in therapy crap from white women on TikTok, white women on Instagram, white women in commercials, white women everywhere. Now you got wrestlers tweeting therapy, therapy, therapy. Yay, I love my therapist. Like, well, what is going on here? You know, this is a very weird thing. It's okay to be, again, forward about what the issue is, and if that's your ministry, let's say, and that's your advocacy and that's what you do, and that you're gonna, hey, I tamed this beast. Let me, show other people in my spare time how I tame this beast. That's fine. But trying to turn the goddamn wrestling show into, these very weird love ends. And then she went over the line. All right. This has nothing to do with the bipolar disorder. She used the word mansplaining on WWE TV. Absolutely insufferable. I was like, oh my God. I almost went into red at that point. Like Vincent Vega said in Pulp Fiction, I was like a race car in the fucking red for like 2 seconds. Like, mansplaining. I was like, you know what, man? Let me take my foot off the gas. Because I almost need a goddamn therapist. I don't want to hear anything about mansplaining. I don't want to hear anything about white woman therapy culture. I don't want none of that stuff in pro wrestling. All right. Again, I don't need that stuff. I don't need anxious millennial cowboy. I don't need crazy bipolar chick. I don't need none of this stuff. And I understand that people look at these things, especially people who are suffering and struggling. I understand that there are people out there who say, hey, this person is just like me. They have the issue that I have, or we share this concern. I get that. But in the world of superheroes, which is in pro wrestling, that's how I view them. Your superheroes are supposed to overcome these things and then stand for something else. Like that's I guess you could say, character flaw, or a flaw that, can't be helped. Most people don't ask to have mental illness, to be deaf or blind or whatever. And you overcoming that and being a champion and winning and being a star in spite of all of these things. All of these things can be used, your age, your, immigrant status, race, gender, all these things that could be used to relate to people, but I just feel like we're supposed to be moving past these things. If you're trying to break the stigma, talking about it doesn't really break the stigma. It just kind of keeps it in the forefront. So people are constantly thinking about it, constantly talking about it. And it kind of makes it corny, and it kind of becomes your personality. It takes over who you are at that point. And I don't like that. Okay. So I was not a big fan of, let's chant for therapy and, oh, I got some therapists for you, Becky. Nah, I'm not good with that. I'm not good with that at all. Nah, that'd be like, that's like chanting for rehab, bro. Rehab. Yeah, we know rehab works. If you tear a muscle or something like that, you go to rehab, or, yeah, we know it works. I don't want the crowd chanting that. I want the crowd thinking that you came back stronger and rehab is one of the things that you did. That's what I don't mind you thinking, that's what one of the things that you did was therapy. You're not going to chant for that with medication that you're taking, are you? I hope not. Anyway, I wasn't a huge fan of the promo because it was okay. It wasn't the best. It was all right. I had more fun with Becky. I just like Becky in this role. She's really good. She's repeating herself constantly about, being the greatest female wrestler of all time. And it's not just her saying it. It's other people saying it. Sports Illustrated says it, which I actually agree with the stand accounts. I think she stole this from Trump. It feels like she stole this from Trump. And it's working because it's stuck with me. I noticed when she did it like the third time. And in pro wrestling, especially in WWE, if somebody does a thing more than once, they try to make it a thing. Like when Paul Heyman talked about Mark Henry making guys submit in a headlock. If you see it 2 or 3 times, you'll start catching on. And she's been doing it for months now. And I think it's really good. So I've been really enamored with Becky here in these in these segments. She's been doing great. She's been very energetic. She's been very manic. She's shown a lot of ass, been very vulnerable, being very given. And she's, a perfect foil for AJ Lee in this situation. Everybody, of course, is running to see who's going to get the first singles match. They'll just throw Roxanne Perez in there. That's a real Mark thinking, Roxanne ain't got to work for it. She just got to be there and throw her in the ring. How about making her work for it? That's what I would do. I would say, yeah, you want to wrestle? Well, you gotta earn it. Go out there and get over. Whatever. And then right after AJ Lee spoke about mental health struggles, we got Bayley talking to herself. So we still got that thing going on. Bayley didn't want to hurt Lyra Valkyria. Says that she hurt some people in the past, but they deserved it. And she's wondering whether Lyra Valkyria will ever forgive her and whether she'll ever forgive herself. Will Lyra Valkyria forgive herself for losing the Rocks to Raquel Rodriguez? Probably not. Probably not. She got beat up by Raquel Rodriguez. I'm not surprised. Raquel's actually not doing bad. All right. That's it for this show. Not great episode of Monday Night Raw. They did not really announce AJ was going to be on the show until the show was already on the air. The main event was booty, butt, cheeks, mainly because, again, there's nothing on the line. It's just a match, and you know that there's going to be run-ins at the end. It's hard for people to watch these shows because they're nothing shows. Rhea Ripley has been on every episode of Raw, but she appears in backstage segments and does nothing. Io Sky has been on every episode of Raw. She's been in backstage segments, done nothing. I saw a Stan account said that Stephanie Vaquer has not been in front of a live crowd since July 28th. I'm not sure who the star of the show is. And because they're doing these roster rotating things where Roman's in and out, and on SmackDown Cody's in and out, they're relying a lot on the upper mid-card guys to sell tickets and keep people interested in the show. But not all upper mid-card guys are made equal. People want to see Roman Reigns. Yes, Jey Uso is good if you want to treat Jey Uso as he's the star of the show this week, which was the case, is that, you got a lot of Jey Uso on the show this week. That's fine. If you are attached to Jey Uso, then you probably had some fun with his character arc this week. And his character arc the last 3 or 4 weeks. His desperation. And, the reunion of convenience with his brother. But what about the rest of this show? Okay? If you're into Asuka, who seems to be the lead female on the show, she gets, 2 matches and 2 segments. Then you like Asuka. Good. But if you're a fan who wants to know what the hell's going on with the women's world title, good luck. If you're a fan of Rhea Ripley, you're not going to get anything on this show. The tag team champions, I don't even remember who they are. Who are the tag team champions? How many tag teams exist on the show? I don't know. And, people just come out. They have matches. The matches usually go too long. There's run-ins, and the match ends. For fuck's sake. But let me know what you guys think. Talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.